I want to be on the most people-intensive side of, so I became an infantry, and then light infantry was, I eventually transitioned to the mechanized infantry, and without going through,
Sure.
all the minutia of a military career, I got married shortly after West Point.
Okay.
That was a starter marriage. 2 years into being a cadet at West Point, she decided she didn't want to be an Army officer. Then 2 years being married to an Army officer, she decided she didn't want that either. Okay. When you're 19 years old, which she was on the day that we got married, you don't know who you are or what you want. So
I can agree to
no
that.
grudge there.
I
No
can
grudge
agree to
there.
that.
Starter marriage. I met the mother of my children when I was still at Fort Ord, California, doing the light infantry thing. California girl. We fell in love and got married, and I, immediately ripped her from her home and her family and took her to Fort Benning, Georgia, where I was going to the advanced course. And then from there, we went to Germany. And then our daughter was born in Germany right before I deployed to Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And then I came back. While I was in Germany, I decided I wanted to, because I've always been fascinated with foreign affairs and things like that. In the Army, has a small corps of officers who are specialists in different parts of the world. I asked for first Latin America because that was my first passion. I got in trouble at West Point for speaking Spanish with a Puerto Rican accent because that's the kind of Spanish I learned running around with my buddies on Long Island.
Yeah.
Right? But they said no. So I said my first choice was Latin America to be a foreign area. Latin America, and then Western Europe because I'd been in Western Europe and I was learning German. And then kind of out of thin air, I picked Northeast Asia and then Southeast Asia. Those were my choices. And they gave me my third choice. I said, thank you very much, Army, for selecting me for this highly competitive program. But why on earth did you give me my third choice? I already speak Spanish. Mm-hmm. Right, I'm here, I'm learning German. And they had all kinds of reasons, but the main one is that you, giving you those easier languages for a native English speaker would be misutilization because your language aptitude test is too high. So we have plenty of Spanish speakers, and the non-Spanish speakers who have a score of like 90 on their defense language aptitude test. And it's just a test that they give everybody. There's a screening test that they give everybody when you're coming in. And, we say that. And we're downsizing in Western Europe. We don't need that many people in there anymore. But you have to study one of the hard languages, a Category 4 language. And what are the Category 4 languages, please? And they said,
I can only imagine.
They said Chinese, Arabic, and Japanese. And my dad had served in Japan, and actually growing up, he still spoke some Japanese.
Wow.
And my first real serious girlfriend when I was in high school was Japanese American. So I said, you know what? I have an affinity toward Japan. Give me Japanese. So they said, okay, you can have Japanese. And then I went off to war, and I sent my wife and my daughter back to the States because there had been rumors of terrorist threats to U.S. family staying in the States. So that's a whole other story. But right after Desert Shield, Desert Storm, I started on my Foreign Area Officer, FAO, Not to be confused with FEO, which is the Spanish word for ugly. My FEO journey, which led me to the job at the embassy in Tokyo, U.S. Embassy in Tokyo, where I kind of backdoored into the murky world of intelligence. And then my last assignment in the Army was at the Defense Intelligence Agency in D.C.
Wow.
And so, fast forward, I retired from the military, got into business because that's where, up in D.C. Well, first I wanted to go back to Japan, but the kids, by that time we had also had, because I went to grad school and things as part of my FAO training, my son was born in Seattle, or close to Seattle, in Tacoma, Washington,
Okay.
at the military hospital there. And so 2 kids who had, this was the only home that they had known in the States, because she was born in Germany, and then by the time we left, she didn't remember much of the States. And
Sure.
then TJ was 1 when we left the States for Japan. And so we're actually enjoying the States, Dad. But if you want to go back to Tokyo, just remember to come back and visit us. That's not going to work. So I got a job in a big defense contracting company that had me geared towards doing work with the intelligence community. And that's where jobs were people that had the clearances like that. But the thing that I wasn't jazzed about the whole corporate world.
Mm-hmm.
But what inspired me were the small businesses that were my subcontractors. And especially as I got into more senior roles,
Mm-hmm.
those subcontractors is something I found somebody else to love besides soldiers. Right?
It's taking care of somebody
Right.
again.
Well, somebody. They inspire me. Small business owners inspire me. There's someone who's got the guts and the courage to start a business, because it ain't easy, right? And then the grit and the gumption to keep it going day in and day out. There's something inspiring about that. Then that big company paid for my MBA, which was very cool. And I got an MBA in, of course, international business, because I was in international, but also entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, Tom, why are you so hot about this MBA? And why don't you just, get your program management or project management professional, PMP, and and just because I don't want to be a project and program manager in defense contracting for the rest of my life. I want to, start and grow businesses, or help businesses start and grow. I knew that, back in, very shortly after I had retired from the military. And then I left that big business and went to small business. I tell people I got my PhD in small business from a guy named Dave McMunn Associates. I probably would still be there, hopefully running Dave's business for him, had he decided to keep it. Right? But he came to me one day and said, Tommy, help me sell this. Help me make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Help me make this business sell happen. And so that's what I did. And they sold. And then I was not enamored of the big business that had bought Dave's business. And so I left again, and I went to another small business. And then for that business, I was down at a trade show in Orlando, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And coming back, I just had this deep feeling of dissatisfaction. And it was then that little voice, in the back of my head said, "Hey Tom, you know that exercise that you've run lots of your military friends when they're retiring through to help them figure out what their higher calling was, because you get a job in your higher calling, then you never work a day in your life.
Not a job.
It's not a job." And so I did that for that flight back from Orlando to DC. I did that for myself, and I said, "Oh, look at that! I'm in the wrong job." And that was in October of 2010.
Okay.
And so by March of 2021, when I found myself not working for that St. Patrick's Day, they did a restructure. That company, I was running one of their divisions. They did a restructure. Wound up having to go home, and because I got restructured out, and my wife, mother of my children, she's not my wife anymore, said to me, "Who lets an Irishman go on St. Patrick's Day?" I said, a bunch of Italians. But I had already, from October to that day, I had already started designing a business that would allow me to live out my higher calling, which happens to be helping small business owners have happier, more successful lives by running more successful businesses. And so I started Go Beyond LLC then. Fits and starts, but I got the test out. I came up with the Go Beyond way of doing business and leading people, and got to test all that out when one of my West Point classmates asked me to come run a business that the company that he belonged. He was a senior executive in this big defense firm, and they had a joint venture with another big defense firm, and this was kind of like right up my alley because it had to do with language and all that other stuff. And I got to be president of that company and test out everything I was teaching other business owners. I was able to test and really basically field test it for a couple of years and see how well it actually does work. And then by that time, the mother of my children decided at the 25-year mark that she needed to go live elsewhere. And that freed me up to actually meet, fall in love with, and marry the best friend I've ever had in my life. And that's Carrie. And we've been married for 7 years. And she really supported me when she said, "Hey, you keep on talking about Go Beyond. Why don't you just do that? Go back to it full time. Help business owners. Do your thing. Live your higher calling." And she's really supported me on it. Then when her son, my stepson, graduated from high school, my kids both being out, and now they're both married, and my daughter and her husband have given me 2 grandkids. I said, "Hey, darling, because Nicholas decided he was going to go try living with his dad for a while."
Okay.
And so we are no longer chained to Northern Virginia. I never meant to live in Northern Virginia for 18 years. So let's take that game that we've been playing. And the game was, let's look for our dream country home. And we would take day trips and weekend trips, and we would travel around and look at different places. And we found our 29 mostly wooded acres with her dream country home, and an in-ground pool, and enough property that I can go outside and shoot my gun.